Well, hello, Internet. This is Robert Nooner of Sierra Nevada Properties, a licensed realtor here in Nevada, and I work with most of Northern Nevada. And I want to talk to you today. I want to talk to my renters especially, and I want to give you one message in this video, and that is stop paying rent. When you pay rent, you're just burning money. At the end of your rental period, that money is gone. Your landlord has that, and you have no assets or uh, nothing to show for that year's worth of rent. However, when you purchase a home, you're going to build equity because some of your monthly payment will go towards the value of the home. And there's another really great feature of owning a home, and that is most home prices increase here in the U.S. There have been some instances like back in Detroit where they actually decreased, but that's very rare. Most housing in this country has increased substantially over the years, and you will be able to take advantage of that. So we'll talk about those numbers. And again, this video is going to be about the numbers of owning a home as opposed to renting. However, I have part two of this, and we'll talk about some of the intrinsic values of owning a home, your rights and responsibilities of each, either renting or owning a home. And you'll be able to see the advantages of owning a home based on those rights and responsibilities. So I'm going to set up a scenario for both renting and home ownership. And we'll start out saying that you have $100,000 in liquid assets. We can go on about whether you do or you don't, but for right now, let's make that assumption. And for rent, let's assume that the rent is going to be about $1,600 per month in rent here in Reno. That's not a bad average for what the average rent is in various areas of Reno. Now, some places are more expensive, some are less, but let's use that figure. So if you multiply that $1,600 by 12 or a month, we'll use a year time frame for both of these scenarios. So over that year, you will have paid about $19,200 to the landlord. And the landlord will still have ownership of the property, and that money will be an expense. So I want you to understand that it's an expense. It's not an investment, and home ownership happens to be an investment. So stop paying rent and stop burning money. Um, and now let's take a look at home ownership, and let's use a similar scenario. We start out with $100,000, and we'll use that maybe for a down payment and closing costs. And we'll buy a $300,000 home, and so we'll assume we're going to borrow about $200,000. Based on my calculations, the mortgage payment on a 30-year fixed at about 7% will be about $1,330 per month, or a grand total of about $15,967. So it's basically $16,000 a year in mortgage payments, as opposed to over $19,000 in rent. So you can see right there that your outlay is far less if you own property and you're paying that rent. Now, the annual interest expense you'll have on that mortgage will be about $12,000, a little over $12,000. So one of the great properties, and no pun intended, one of the great properties of owning property is that it generally increases in value. There have been instances in the past, the Great Depression, some of the other events that happened in history, where the value of the property has decreased, but that's pretty rare. Most property in this country increases year over year. So, and to give you a good example, the increase in value in property in Reno, Nevada in 2021 was about 22%. So your $300,000 home, even though you've only outlaid $100,000, your $300,000 home will have increased by roughly $66,000. So if you take that $66,000 that it increased, and that's your money, that's your equity, that's your value, and you subtract the $12,000 or so that you paid in interest, you still increased your net worth by about $53,000. So that's not a bad investment and a bad increase in the value of your property and your net worth. And by the way, I've got an interesting statistic about net worth. Um, uh, in 2019, the average net worth of a renter was about $6,300, $6,300, whereas the net worth of the average homeowner in this country, this is all parts of the country, was $255,000. That's 40 times the net worth of a renter. So, it only makes sense that home ownership is the real value in in living in this country and not paying rent. So again, this part we've just taken a look at some of the financial advantages. The fact that you're going to pay less per month in mortgage payment or rent, and you're also through the magic of home ownership and increased value, your equity is going to increase over that same time period. And in part two, like I say, we'll talk about the intrinsic values, the rights and responsibilities of each. And here again, in part two, you're going to find that the advantages of home ownership far exceed the advantages of rental. So again, I want to leave you with this message, and I think it's so important. Stop paying rent, and I want you to stop burning money. Um, it's not good for you. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for the community. We want to build a community based on home ownership. So again, stay tuned for part two. I'll put a link in the description, and also I'll put a QR code on the end of this video so you can quickly go to that video. Well, and I'll also have my phone number, which you can see behind me here, and I'll put a QR code so you can give me a quick call. Okay, and we come to the end of the sort of financial look at whether you should continue to rent or to buy. I want to emphasize that I'm here to help you. I can help you with financing. I can help you find the home you're looking for. And I do really want you to go ahead and look at owning property as opposed to just renting. So click here, and you can see the part two of this series. Basically, we're going to take a look at the intrinsic values of either owning a home or renting. Again, if you're renting, your money is an expense and goes away. If you're going to buy a property, it's an investment, and you actually put equity in the bank, and your property can increase and increase your equity as well. So anyway, stay tuned for part two of